Most of us played hide and seek as kids. You remember that feeling, heart pounding, crouched behind a couch or tucked inside a closet, trying not to breathe too loud. It was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be safe. But I'm going to tell you something. The last time I played that game, I was 31 years old, and I wasn't hiding from a kid. It was the summer of 2019. I was living in rural Indiana, about 20 minutes outside of a small town called Martinsville. The house was a rental, old farmhouse, 2 stories, surrounded by fields on 3 sides and a tree line on the fourth. Nearest neighbor was half a mile down the road. It was exactly what I thought I wanted. My daughter Lily was 7 at the time. She was this fearless little kid. Loud, funny, always moving. The farmhouse had enough room for her to run wild and she loved it out there. That particular weekend it was mid-July. Hot and heavy the way Indiana gets in summer. We'd been outside most of the afternoon, playing in the yard, and by early evening we came inside to cool off. Lily wanted to play hide and seek. Just the two of us like we always did. I told her I'd count. She ran off giggling, her little feet thumping across the hardwood floors above me. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, covered my eyes, and started counting out loud. The house settled around me the way old houses do. I heard a door close somewhere upstairs. I completed the counting, ready or not. I went upstairs first, checked her bedroom empty, checked the bathroom empty. There was a small linen closet at the end of the hall. I flung it open with a big "got you." Nothing, just towels and an old vacuum cleaner. I stood there in the hallway, a little confused. She was good at hiding, but she was 7. There weren't that many options. I went back downstairs, checked behind the couch, inside the coat closet near the front door, under the kitchen table. Nothing. "Lily," I called out, still playful, not worried yet. "You're getting too good at this." No answer. I figured she was just being quiet, really committing to the game. I went back upstairs, more thorough this time, checked under the beds, checked inside the wardrobe in my bedroom, called her name a few more times. Silence. That's when my stomach shifted, just slightly, not panic yet, but something. Parents know that feeling. "Lily, game's over, come out." Nothing. I went back downstairs. Checked every room again, turning lights on as I went. Checked the half bathroom under the stairs, the small storage room off the kitchen, even the pantry. The back door was still locked from the inside. Front door, same. I stepped out onto the front porch, called her name across the yard. The fields were going gold in the evening light, long shadows stretching out toward the tree line. My voice came back to me flat and unanswered. I went back inside, and that's when I noticed the basement door. It was open, not wide open, just cracked, maybe 3 inches. I always kept it shut. I didn't like that basement. No particular reason, just one of those instincts you have about a space. Low ceilings, dirt floor in one section, bare bulb lighting. The previous tenant had left a bunch of old furniture down there, stuff the landlord hadn't cleared out. I'd never let Lily go down there. I pulled the door open the rest of the way and called down into the dark. "Lily, are you down there?" A small voice floated up. "You found me, Daddy." I let out a breath, half relief, half frustration. I flipped on the light and went down. She was crouched behind an old armoire, grinning that gap-toothed grin. I hugged her tighter than I probably needed to, told her she was never allowed in the basement. She said okay. We went back upstairs. But here's the part I couldn't shake. When I was tucking her in that night, she said something, completely casual, like it was nothing. "The man down there helped me find a good spot." I stopped. "What man?" "The man in the basement. He was nice, he whispered where to hide." My mouth went dry, I kept my voice steady. "Lily, what did he look like?" She shrugged the way kids do. "Old, he had a flashlight. He said don't make noise until you hear Daddy's voice." I put her to bed, went back downstairs and called the sheriff's department. Told them what she'd said. I felt stupid saying it out loud. Part of me was hoping they'd tell me she probably imagined it. They didn't say that. 2 deputies came out. They searched the basement top to bottom. Behind every piece of furniture, every dark corner. They found a section of the dirt floor in the back corner that had been dug out. not deep, just enough to form a low crawl space beneath the foundation wall. There were wadded up fast food bags, a thin sleeping bag rolled up tight in there. Someone had been living under my house. They never found him that night. The crawl space connected to a gap in the foundation on the outside, hidden behind overgrown bushes along the back of the house. He was gone. Whoever he was, he heard the commotion, heard me calling her name, and he ran. The sheriff's deputy told me they'd look into it. They did find a match a few weeks later, a man with a history of breaking into vacant and rural properties, living in them undetected. He'd been in that crawl space for at least 2 weeks based on what they found. 2 weeks. While Lily and I slept upstairs, while I made breakfast and watched TV and thought I was alone. I never spent another night in that house. I was packed and out within 2 days. Lily doesn't remember much of it now. She's 12. When I've thought about telling her the full story, I stop myself. Some things you carry so your kids don't have to. But I think about that basement a lot. I think about how easily she could have gone down there on her own. I think about a man sitting in the dark, listening to us move around above him, day after day. And I think about how he told her to stay quiet, until she heard my voice. He knew exactly what he was doing, and to this day, I don't know why he helped her hide. I don't know what he was waiting for. I don't know how long he would have stayed if she hadn't found him. Some questions don't have answers, and sometimes that's the most terrifying part of all. I was 9 years old the summer my family moved to a small town in rural Georgia. One of those places where everyone knows everyone, where kids still play outside until the streetlights come on. Our new neighborhood had a cluster of about 6 houses on a dead-end road, surrounded by thick woods on 3 sides. As a kid, I thought it was the most exciting place I'd ever seen. The kids on that street had a tradition. Every Friday night, the last week of summer before school started, they played a massive game of hide and seek. The whole neighborhood, kids from every house. They called it the big game, and they'd been doing it for years before we arrived. My mom thought it was sweet. Neighborhood kids, summer night, harmless fun. She said yes before I even finished asking. What none of us knew, what none of us could have known, was that someone else had decided to play along that night. There were 7 of us kids that evening. I was the new one, so they let me be a hider first, which I appreciated. The boundaries were the 6 houses and their yards. No woods. That was the one rule everyone repeated before we started. No woods. I remember standing in a circle while Danny, who was 11 and had apparently been running this game for 3 years, explained the rules. Eyes closed. Count to 60. Anywhere in the yards or houses with permission. No woods. Simple enough. I found what I thought was a perfect spot, behind the old wooden shed at the back of our neighbor Mrs. Calloway's yard. It sat right at the edge of the tree line, half covered by an overgrown rosebush. I tucked myself in tight, pulled my knees to my chest, and waited. For the first 10 minutes, it was fun. I could hear the other kids being found one by one, the shrieks and laughter carrying through the warm evening air. Fireflies were starting to blink around the yard. I felt proud of my hiding spot. Then I heard something that didn't belong. It was a voice. Low, adult, coming from just inside the tree line behind me. Not shouting, not calling out. Just talking quietly like someone on a phone call, except there was no response. Just one voice, murmuring steadily. I told myself it was probably someone's dad out for a walk. I told myself a lot of things. Then the murmuring stopped, and I heard footsteps in the leaves. Slow ones. Moving toward the edge of the woods, toward me. I want to be really clear about something. I was 9 years old and I was behind a shed, alone, 10 feet from the woods, and whatever was walking through those trees was not a small animal. The steps were heavy, deliberate, and they stopped right behind the shed where I was hiding. I couldn't see anything. The rosebush was blocking my view, but I could hear breathing. Close, slow breathing just on the other side of the wooden planks. I stopped breathing completely. I don't know how long I sat there. It felt like forever. Then I heard Danny's voice from across the yard, calling my name, the seeker trying to find the last hider, and the breathing on the other side of the shed just paused. Like whatever was there was listening too. I made a decision that I believe to this day kept me safe. I didn't move. I didn't answer Danny. I pressed myself flat against that shed and I did not make a single sound. Danny called my name 2 more times. Then I heard him move off toward the front yard, assuming I wasn't back there. The breathing on the other side of the shed started again. Then slowly I heard footsteps moving along the outside of the shed, not away from me but around it, toward the open side, toward where I was sitting. I ran. I didn't think about it, I just ran straight toward the house, across the yard, screaming Danny's name. I hit the back porch door so hard I bruised my shoulder, yanked it open, and fell inside onto the kitchen floor. Mrs. Calloway came running in from the living room, and I was crying so hard I couldn't speak for a full minute. By the time I got the words out, Danny and 2 of the other kids had come inside too. The adults didn't believe me at first. Mrs. Calloway's husband walked the tree line with a flashlight and said he didn't see anything. My parents told me I'd scared myself in the dark. Danny, to his credit, looked genuinely unsettled but didn't say anything. The game ended early that night. Everyone went home. 3 days later, a man was arrested in the town 4 miles south of us. He'd been living in the woods off and on for almost 2 weeks, a transient with a long history of erratic behavior and 2 prior charges in other states. He was picked up after a family reported someone had been in their unlocked garage overnight. When the local paper ran the story, they mentioned which area of the woods he'd been moving through. It was ours. My mom read the article at the kitchen table and went very quiet for a long moment. Then she folded the paper and didn't bring it up again for years. When she finally did, she admitted she'd cried in the car on the way to the grocery store the day she read it, because she understood what I'd been too young to fully process at the time. He had been right there, inches away, on the other side of that shed wall, listening to a 9-year-old try to hold their breath. I'm an adult now. I have kids of my own. And I'll be completely honest with you, they don't play outside after dark. I know how that sounds. I know parents are supposed to let kids be kids, let them run around, let them have that freedom. But I also know what it sounds like when something that shouldn't be near you is breathing slowly just on the other side of a wall. And somehow, that makes it so much worse. Because that game of hide and seek happens in every neighborhood, in every small town, on every warm summer night across this country. Kids hiding in the dark, staying quiet, trying not to be found. Most of the time, the only one searching for them is another kid. Most of the time. I grew up in a small town in rural Ohio. The kind of place where everybody knew everybody, where you could leave your bike unlocked outside the general store and it'd still be there an hour later. We had maybe 30 kids within a 5-block radius, and in the summers, we basically lived outside. No schedules, no plans, just whoever showed up in the field behind my house decided what we were doing that day. It was the summer I turned 11 that things changed. That was the summer Corvin moved in 2 streets over. Corvin was quiet. Not shy quiet, more like deliberately quiet. Like he was always listening, always watching, always calculating something behind those pale eyes of his. He was 12, a year older than me, and from the first day he joined our group, something about him made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I couldn't tell you why. Kids don't always have words for those instincts. They just feel them. But he was new and we were kids, and kids are forgiving in the way adults forget to be. So we let him in. It was a Thursday evening in July when we decided to play hide and seek. There were 6 of us, me, my best friend Tyler, 2 sisters from down the block named Cara and Jess, a kid we all called Rabbit, and Corvin. The field behind my house stretched out into a thin patch of woods that lined the edge of a dried-up creek bed. Old tree trunks, tall grass, a rusted-out shed that used to belong to a farmer before the land got sold off. We'd played back there 100 times. We knew every hiding spot. Corvin volunteered to be it first. That should have been the first thing that struck me as odd. Nobody ever wants to be it. But he just smiled, pressed his face against the old oak we used as base, and started counting. We scattered. I ran deep into the tree line and tucked myself behind a wide oak trunk about 50 yards from the field, crouching low in the tall grass. I could hear the others crashing through the brush, finding their spots. Then everything went quiet. Just crickets and the distant sound of Corvin counting down from 100. He reached 1. Then nothing. I waited. That's the thing about hide and seek. The waiting is almost worse than being found. Your legs cramp up. Mosquitoes find you. Every snapped twig makes your heart jump. But I was good at being still. I could wait it out. 10 minutes passed. Maybe 15. Then I heard Rabbit laughing from somewhere across the field. He'd been found. A minute later, Kara shouted base, and she was safe. One by one, I heard the others either get caught or make it home. Tyler got tagged. Jess made it back, but nobody came for me. I waited another 10 minutes, 15. The sun was dipping now, the light going orange through the trees. I finally stood up and walked back toward the field, figuring the game was over. Everyone was standing at base except Corvin. "Where is he?" I asked. Tyler shrugged. "He found all of us pretty fast. We figured he went looking for you." "I never heard him anywhere near me," I said. "We called his name a few times." "Nothing." We split up and walked through the usual spots behind the shed, along the creek bed, through the tall grass by the fence line. And that's when Kara grabbed my arm. She was pointing at the shed. The door was slightly open. Not the way wind opens something, deliberately open, like someone had pushed it just wide enough to see out. I don't know why I walked toward it. I think part of me assumed it was just Corvin hiding, thinking he was funny, dragging the game out for a laugh. I pushed the door open the rest of the way. He was standing in the back corner of that shed, not crouching, not hiding, just standing there in the dark, completely still, staring at the wall. "Corvin," I said. "Game's over, man." He didn't move. I said his name again. Tyler had come up behind me by then, and I heard him exhale sharply when he saw Corvin standing there like that, rigid, unblinking, facing the wooden planks of the wall like he was reading something written there that none of us could see. I took 2 steps inside and touched his shoulder. He turned around so fast I stumbled backward, and the look on his face, it wasn't anger, it wasn't confusion, it was something else. Then he blinked, and he smiled, normal, calm, like nothing had happened. "Found you guys," he said. He walked out of the shed and back toward the field like he'd just been taking a breather. We all stood there looking at each other, not saying a word. We didn't play with Corvin much after that. We didn't make a big decision about it. It just happened naturally the way it does when kids sense something is off. He'd show up sometimes, stand at the edge of the field and watch us for a while, then leave. I'd catch him looking at my house from the sidewalk some evenings, just standing there with his hands at his sides. His family moved away the following spring. A year and a half after that, a boy 2 towns over went missing, a 12-year-old who'd last been seen playing in a field near his neighborhood. They found him 3 days later in an old outbuilding on an abandoned property. He was physically okay, but he couldn't tell the police how he got there or how long he'd been inside. The detective on the case made a statement. He said the boy remembered playing a game. He said someone had convinced him to hide. I don't know if it was Corvin, I genuinely don't. I have no proof, no name. Just a feeling that has sat in my chest every single time I've thought about that shed, about those eyes, about the way he said found you guys, like the whole thing was completely normal. If you enjoyed these hide and seek horror stories, hit the subscribe and press bell icon so you never miss next stories. If you've got a story of your own, something that happened to you or someone you know, drop it in the comment below. Share it with someone who loves horror stories. Until next time, stay safe.